Welcome to a night full of chills and whispers. You've tuned in to Haunted Heartland, the annual show full of Halloween-themed stories that will send chills down your spine. So grab your snacks, dim the lights, and settle in for a frightful delight. Haunted Heartland 2025, only on mavradio.fm.
Hello and welcome to the 14th annual Haunted Heartland broadcast. My name is Juliet Eckler. I'm joined with
Maya French.
And we have some incredible stories for you this evening, from stories about how scary Hummel Park can be, to some fall activities and themes, to even how costumes can impact the community. Maya, what are some of your favorite Halloween events?
You know, I just love Halloween in general, like the vibe, going out with my friends, the way that the weather changes, the costumes, the movies, like staying in. I kind of like just the general vibe of it. What about you?
I like going out and getting candy. I just enjoy candy. I'm such a sweet treat
You're
person.
never too old for it.
No, you're really not, man. Let me tell you. I love some chocolate and some sour candy too.
Yes.
Fire. Now, Maya, how can people stay tuned in throughout the night?
So we have our amazing social media team, Bailey and Denise. They're going to be connecting us with the reporters out in the field. We got our producers, Wyatt and JC, behind the board. And you can stay tuned, Mav Radio and the TuneIn app.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have a story about how scary downtown might actually be. Omaha's Old Market is known for its charm, with brick streets and century-old stories around every corner. But beneath that history lies something darker. At 1110 Douglas Street, one building stands as both a landmark and a legend. Once home to reforms and vice alike, it now houses what many call the most haunted museum in the world. Reporter Joel Andrzejewska takes us inside the Christian Specht building, home to the Museum of Shadows, where history meets the supernatural.
By day, it looks like any other old brick building downtown. But step through the door, and it's like the air changes. The lights dim, and you feel like something, or someone, is watching. This is the Museum of Shadows, where more than 3,000 haunted artifacts fill the rooms. From cursed dolls and voodoo relics, to objects once owned by infamous killers. Museum receptionist and tour guide Amelia says every item here has a story.
We have such a crazy collection of items. You could probably if you could probably think of it, we have it back there. Ada is our most popular. She's actually the one that most people give a lot of donations to. She is represented by a doll.
And some of those stories aren't just for display. Among them, items connected to one of the most infamous names in true crime.
I do know that we have some pretty cool items downstairs from an actual famous killer, Ed Gein.
Ed Gein's crimes inspired Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the Silence of the Lambs. And his personal effects? They're right here, just a few feet away from where I'm standing. I've always been drawn to ghost stories, so when I heard about the museum's Sit Challenge, I had to try it. The rules are simple. One person, one room, 10 minutes, and total darkness. I took a seat on an old wooden chair in the center of an old elevator shaft, surrounded by mirrors and artifacts said to move on their own. The light from the hallway faded, and for a few minutes, it was just me, the silence, and my imagination. Or maybe it wasn't. I wanted to know what others thought, so I brought my parents, the ones that first got me hooked on ghost hunting shows like Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters.
There was a section in the basement that had a lot of voodoo items and dolls and just kind of really creepy stuff that I didn't realize was so lifelike. And I could just imagine people cursing somebody else, and I just didn't know that was so prevalent.
My dad's a big fan of ghost hunting shows, so when it was his time to do the sit challenge, he had a different idea to get the attention of the spirits.
I tried to provoke and say things and almost got downright sarcastic.
Whether that energy is supernatural or psychological is up for debate, but everyone who steps inside feels something strange about the museum. A century ago, the Christian Spec building stood as a symbol of Omaha's growth and its struggles with sin and reform. Today, it's a symbol of something else entirely, a place where the past refuses to stay quiet. For Haunted Heartland, I'm Joel Anderjaska.
Whether you believe in spirits or not, one thing is certain, this museum leaves a mark long after you've spent back into the day. Thank you, Joel, for taking us inside the Museum of Shadows. And joining me now is Joel. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, sitting outside of the museum here on Douglas Street, right across the street.
Yeah, did you or your parents ever experience anything unusual visiting the Museum of Shadows?
I myself heard a few noises in there. I got to walk around with one of those ghost detectors. I believe they're called K2 meters. And shows a gauge from 1 to 5. Occasionally it jumped up to like 4, but as of like voices or anything, I didn't hear anything myself. Maybe some taps or something, but other than that, it was just pretty creepy atmosphere.
What's the strangest or most unsettling object you saw there?
I don't know if it was haunted or not, but they had a whole Art the Clown life-size doll from the movie Terrifier that was pretty creepy. Gave me a jump when I rounded a corner when entering that room. But in the basement at the far end, they have this doll locked in a cage, like covered in chains, that's supposedly shakes on its own. It's possessed by a demon. I thought that was pretty creepy.
And did anything eerie happen during the sit challenge?
For me, I remember, like I said, I had that ghost detector. The entire time it was at a 1, and then I asked a question at one point, upturned it, and it turned to it went all the way from a 1 to a 4 and stayed that way until the challenge ended. It was kind of unsettling because it's like it responded to what I was saying.
All right, thank you so much, Joel.
Of course.
A popular Halloween tradition for many is attending a haunted house. While some like to stay in the comfort of their homes, others like to experience the haunts outside of the screen and in their own reality. Reporter Carly Ryman and Samira Zarazua tell us more.
Samira, I don't want to touch them. I'm scared. Screams, flashing lights, and cramped corners. All aspects of haunted house attractions that keep luring in more and more victims to these artificial haunts.
But why do people enjoy these terrifying experiences willingly? What makes these frightful houses worthwhile? Current UNO student Madeline Harefield frequents haunted house attractions every year during the season. We asked her what makes people go to haunted houses.
I think a lot of people definitely enjoy like the adrenaline and like the high off of the scare.
The adrenaline that one receives while watching scary movies or playing horror games gives your brain an addicting amount of dopamine that helps haunted houses gain lots of attraction. Many of the elements in horror media are added into haunted houses to gain the interest of participants.
I love the blood and the gore. I have a love-hate relationship with the jump scare. It gets me every time, but it's also what makes them fun.
A professional in the haunted house scene, Aaron Wolkovich, produced his very own haunted house, Dungeon of the Damned, in the basement of the well-known candy shop in downtown Omaha, Hollywood Candy. It has a history of being an ice cream factory.
The dungeon was down there, that the haunted house was down there because in 2015 it ran as the Carnival of Terror. It hadn't been touched in 5 years.
Aaron had spent months stripping the old haunt bare.
So we gutted the entire thing except for the walls. Everything down there was taken out.
Throughout the months building up to the famous Dungeon of the Damned, Aaron had programmed all the sounds and music over 10 different areas.
The sound is kind of my baby still. The sound itself, it's all different as you walk through the haunts.
Having over 40 scare actors for this season, Aaron's team in the Dungeon of the Damned had determination to set up this haunt with their best talents on display.
The terror on their faces, and like even though they know it's fake, it's that feeling is still there, that adrenaline is still pumping in your body.
With the amount of work put into a haunted house, it makes sense why people would want to partake in the adrenaline of an in-person experience right on time for the spooky season.
There's just something different to being in person. Yeah.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Samira Zerazua.
And I'm Carly Ryman.
As we reach the end of the month, there have been more and more attendees to haunted houses to celebrate the Halloween season. To get more and more intel on the haunted house lore, we have Samira Zarazua and Carly Ryman, who have recently visited the Dungeon of the Damned. Carly, Samira, can you tell us where you are tonight?
Hello, hello.
What did you experience at the haunted house you walked through?
Oh, there was like so many different things that was going on.
It was terrifying.
It was an experience. It was about 30 minutes to walk through the whole thing, and a lot of like familiar faces from horror movies were there. Like we had Art the Clown chasing us, and Michael Myers following us as well.
And it's a really cramped, tight space, so you have to walk like single file. So it's like you don't know what's going to jump out at you because every turn you take, it's like a maze down in that basement. It's horrifying.
It was terrifying, but I loved it.
A great time.
Was the experience anything close to watching a horror movie at home?
I would say it's like
you have a horror movie aspects there, like there was Art the Clown or just like elements.
Yeah, just like the jump scare factors in some horror movies were there, and like so was like the music and everything, but it felt like I was in the movie, if that makes sense.
We were experiencing actually being chased.
Yes.
And after this house, how often would you frequent haunted house attractions in the future?
I'm probably gonna visit one every weekend next year.
Yeah, I think I need to go to more. I haven't been to many in the past, but I gotta go to more now.
All right, thanks, Samira and Carly.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I do not like haunted houses that much.
I can't remember the last time I've been in one. I'm such a big baby. Not for me.
All right, we'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Let's take a break from the spooky scaries and talk about everyone's favorite part of any season, the food. Fall flavors are distinct, but sometimes hard to define. Reporter Isaac McBee checks in with an expert and a few students to find out what makes a dish feel like fall.
You return to your parents' home for fall break. Stepping inside from the cooling air and crisp leaves from under your feet, you smell... what? What food weighs on your mind so heavily this kind of year that you can almost taste it? I think everyone would say something different, but there is something unique about fall specifically when it comes to food, isn't there? A specific kind of flavor associated. What is that specifically? And why? This, of course, is a matter of taste on many levels, so I decided to start by asking some fellow UNO students on their opinions on the matter. When asked how they define fall food...
I would say like hearty, like savory flavors. Something that fills you up and is like warm, warms you up because it's cold out.
I like me some apples, I like me some pumpkins, as long as they got them spices mixed in there too somewhere, it makes it even better.
Other students mentioned specific foods like candy corn, turkey legs, and various apple-related desserts and beverages. Both pumpkin pie and turkey legs were mentioned more than once. Given this criteria, when asked what their favorite foods were...
Probably apple fritters. Pumpkin pie. Pecan pie.
Candied apple, because it's just so hard to find, like... During the normal months of the year, I'd be looking all over for my candied apple, and they never have it for me.
Dude, oh my gosh, I could spend hours eating candy corn if it wouldn't, like, wreck me emotionally and physically.
An excellent place to start. Pumpkin and apple flavors were common themes here, and why is that? Well, pumpkin and apples are fall foods, of course, and I don't just mean that they're foods that are eaten in fall, but rather that they're also traditionally harvested in the fall season. Turkey legs were also mentioned frequently, but turkey in general is quite heavily associated with fall as well. This is likely thanks to Thanksgiving, a holiday where turkey is considered a staple for dinner. Candy corn is similar, with it being a staple for Halloween since the 1950s. Both of these are associated with fall thanks to tradition. Following this lens of tradition, I decided to get an expert's opinion for another thread of understanding.
Yeah, so my name's Joe Griffith. I am the Director of Food and Beverage Operations for Vala's Pumpkin Patch, and I have been out here for 6 years now.
I think it's safe to say that Vala's Pumpkin Patch is a fall staple here in Nebraska, and the food is a big contributing factor to that.
Food is about 40% of our overall sales. People come out here, once a year and they got to get their turkey leg or they got to get whatever that item is.
Interesting that he brought up turkey legs independently when my classmates did earlier as well. Are the best-selling items at Vala's turkey legs?
It's not turkey legs, no. So our most popular item is our bucket of cookies.
Well, that doesn't feel very fall adjacent.
That's our, from a sales standpoint, right? From sales. So it's bucket of cookies. And close second tie is our from scratch homemade pies.
That feels more fitting. A lot of students mentioned pie as well.
Those are our top two. The next one would be kettle corn. And then after that would be donuts. And actually, kettle corn and donuts from a sales standpoint are about the same. And then the fifth is turkey legs.
This is all in terms of sales, mind you, not quantity sold. Despite that, it still gives us good data for what makes fall food. I was curious on his expert opinion about fall flavors as well. Sales data can only get you so far, after all.
Like cinnamon, coriander, nutmeg, those are fall scents that you really get. But for us, barbecue is a fall flavor. So, so it's kind of hard to define that.
You and me both, it seems. Maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. There is a bit of a pattern of savory flavors forming, but I'd wager that much of this still traces back to tradition. But the more specific flavors really vary depending on who I asked. So that raises the question, what if it's more granular than just tradition? I think back to that return home, that unique fall flavor I can just taste thinking of it. But I bet that flavor that you think of when you think of that moment is different from mine. In that regard, maybe fall flavors aren't just apples, pumpkins, or cinnamon, but the experiences we associate with those flavors and the memories shared with friends and family. For Mav Radium FM, this is Isaac McBee.
When winter arrives and the leaves fall from the trees, the real fall flavors will stay. The traditions passed down and the memories of the season remain until the leaves turn orange again. Joining us now is Isaac. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm here in Milo Bale, Durango's Grill. It's not too fall themed, but there is a Halloween something or other happening in the Nebraska room, in the ballroom, so I'd say it counts.
Why did you choose this topic for Haunted Heartland?
That's a pretty good question. I'm not too fond of spooky stuff or scary stories or ghosts and the like, so I decided to do something that's very close to me in fall, and that's, of course, is food. I think everyone likes food, and I'm very fond of fall flavors that were mentioned earlier, like cinnamon and nutmeg and such, so I decided that that'd be a fun topic to dive in on.
What's your personal favorite fall food?
There's so many. We've been eating a lot of kettle corn at my house recently, so that's pretty high up there. But I'm also really fond of apple cider, especially sparkling apple cider. That's also sort of a New Year's adjacent thing, but that's usually grape juice, I suppose. And I think it's a bit of a Christmassy thing too, is cranberry flavors. But I think cranberry sauce is usually heavily associated with Thanksgiving. So I think I'd say that was another very well-loved fall flavor of mine.
How would you describe these flavors compared to other seasons?
That's a good question. I think summer's very citrusy, thanks to like a lemonade being a very common drink that's drank in the summertime. But I feel like winter flavors are pretty similar to a lot of fall flavors, though, with more savory things and cinnamon, though chocolate is more common around that time of the year. And then spring, I would need to consider more. I think maybe peaches or more sweeter fruits than the savory.
How does Nebraska influence our sense of what fall food means?
I think our current sort of geographical location leads us well to like seeing all four seasons, so we have a lot more association with like the temperature of fall as over just the flavors, but also like what we grow here, corn. A lot of people eat corn around fall, around that time because it's brought out a lot, and it's a pretty local vegetable. I mean, it's called the corn huskers, right? So it's I feel like local geography and the fact that Nebraska is a very farming-focused state help influence that flavor overall with the harvest season.
All right, thank you so much, Isaac.
Thank you.
All right, now shifting back to our spookier stories, I gotta ask Juliet, what do you think of horror films? Do you have a favorite one? Do you like them?
I'm kind of a classic one. Like, I like Halloween or like Scream. The ones that like aren't too scary but are still like just absolute classics.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I'm a complete baby. I'm not a horror film girl, but horror movies, love them, hate them. They're a staple of Halloween season and the cinematic landscape year-round. Part of the genre's unique allure, on-screen chills, thrills, and bloody spills. Reporter Chase Zagurski tells us more about the practical effects work that make these moments possible.
Imagine the craziest thing you've ever seen in a horror movie. Was it a helpless victim being frozen in liquid nitrogen and smashed to bloody pieces? Was it a tragedy survivor getting decapitated by closing elevator doors? It's visceral moments like these, peppered across classic franchises like Friday the 13th and Final Destination, that make horror movies so appealing to the genre's most diehard fans.
I think they kind of carry the show a lot of the times. In a horror film, it's usually about the kills.
That was UNL senior Parker Davis, who developed an affinity for horror movies at a young age. No matter how many times pictures like 1999's The Mummy scared him away when he was a kid, Davis couldn't help but be drawn back in by the over-the-top visuals constantly on screen. Those kinds of magnetic spectacles that horror movies are full of. The creative kills and the outlandish creatures simply wouldn't exist without the practical effects that the genre has such a close connection to. Like Davis, independent filmmaker and special effects makeup artist Jack Bayless nurtured his love of horror and genre films through his youth. Since graduating from Wichita State University, Bayless has served as the one-stop shop for all things blood, guts, and makeup in his small section of the Midwest indie film scene.
So I do a lot of sculpting, prosthetics, life casting. If anyone needs monsters or blood rigs, I'm your guy.
There's an extraordinary amount of ground-level craft that goes into practical effects, and makeup specialists like Bayless are always looking for inventive solutions to make on-screen gore and monsters look disgustingly authentic. A special recipe of corn syrup, food dyes, opacifying agents, and dish soap makes for a convincing substitute for blood. Guts and viscera can be anything from purpose-made silicone replicas, prophylactics filled with fake blood, or even real animal intestines if you're on a budget.
When the people who are creating the monsters and the effects are like having fun doing it, it's when they look really cool. And you can always tell when someone like really put effort into designing a lot of these effects.
Compared to digital enhancements that are mostly added in post, all of the magic of practical effects happens on set during production. Whole days can be dedicated to capturing a single practical set piece. And effects-heavy productions, like 1981's The Prowler, have even had their entire shooting schedules revolve around the work of their effects artists. So why go through all that effort to create a practical kill or creature when digital alternatives are cheaper and less demanding? Davis says it's a simple matter of how they contribute to the overall feel of an authentic horror movie moment, and look good doing it.
I really like those moments that like really just make you squirm in your seat, and having something like really happen goes so far into like producing that effect and not making it look off-putting.
To Davis, practical effects also have a certain timeless quality to them. Even the best digital effects can come off as dated decades on, while well-done practical effects hardly show their age.
If a practical effect like looks good at one point in time, it looks good at all points in time, it makes these movies so much more revisitable, and it makes them like feel more real.
Despite the technical craft on display in so many horror pictures, praise for the genre's talented special effects artists is largely confined to the most close-knit horror spaces. For fans like Davis, it's almost an expectation that horror films will underperform or go outright unrecognized at major awards ceremonies like the Oscars.
I think it's kind of a running assumption, I guess, so to speak, in the horror community that horror films will never get Academy recognition. It's so rare.
The genre does get some recognition at the Oscars in terms of makeup, but horror artists have only taken home the award 7 times in that category's nearly 50-year history. But even when horror doesn't find mainstream recognition, it still manages to flourish. That weak tether to the establishment drives the highly dedicated horror community to honor its own, and it's the genre's true fans, Bayless says, that'll keep horror movies going.
Horror fans are rabid, and they'll watch kind of anything.
Recent releases like Saw X and In a Violent Nature are continuing hallowed horror traditions, pushing the envelope for characters to meet their ends in increasingly grisly ways. Whether it's deaths by radiation or log splitter, you would never be able to see them without the power of practical effects.
I think there's always going to be a place for practical effects in film. I think really specifically genre films are going to, at the very least, keep practical effects.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Chase Zagurski.
"2025 has been a major year for horror films, with breakaway hits like Sinners and Weapons even managing to find massive mainstream favor. The horror releases have slowed down as studios prepare for the holiday season, but the Halloween spirit is in full swing at theaters across the country. Reporter Chase Zagurski is at Exarban Cinema right now. How's it looking down there in Exarban, Chase?
Well, about that. Couldn't make it because of traffic, Dodge and all. My group and I are currently sitting in the NFM parking lot, reporting live. But it's a cold night, not a lot of horror releases right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little barren down there at Exarban.
Now, how'd you come to report on this story, Chase?
Well, I've been good buddies with Parker Davis for a long while. I knew him through my brother. He was 2 years above me in high school, and I knew through him Jack Bayless. I heard just sort of rumblings of, this guy went to school for like film production and specifically horror movie makeup. So when we got pitched this project, I thought, well, I've got a ready-made response right there.
You went into a lot of detail about what things like blood and gut substitutes were made of. How do effects artists actually put those elements together to make the effects?
So there's a lot of ways they can do it, and guys like Bayless, like I said, they can do it in a lot of different ways. There's if you're looking for like sort of a throat slit or a small cut, you can run that blood substitute through like a discrete hose, or if it's like an off-screen strike, you can pump it out through like an air cannon. For like the more involved stuff, like if you need to crush somebody or like cut their arm or their head off, you can cast. It's what's called life casting, where you take a model of the whole subject out of silicone or like latex rubber, and then you can do really whatever you want with that. Sky's the limit.
If you had to choose your all-time favorite practical effect in a horror movie, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. If I had to choose, and it's hard to choose, it would be something from 1982's The Thing. There's just so much crazy stuff in there that I can't even choose. Maybe the guy getting his hands bit off by like an alien coming out of some guy's stomach. It's insane to see.
Okay, thank you so much, Chase.
And when we come back, we might have some scary stories that could be in your backyard. When it comes to Omaha's most haunted locations, one name always rises on the top: Hummel Park. Tucked away in the bluffs of North Omaha, this park has inspired decades of stories, mysteries, and late-night visits from thrill seekers. Reporter Zaire Butler explores why Hummel Park continues to draw attention and fascination from locals and visitors alike.
Helen is right around the corner. As we see what goes on around the area, we hear from journalist Adam Fletcher his thoughts about Hummel Park and the various rumors and theories that surround it. And a little history about the racism that occurred there as well.
I can tell you about the history of racism in Omaha going deeper than anybody. And I can tell you about the real consequences and outcomes and actions and all those different things that go into it. But about Hummel Park directly, what we could do is start with, the most recent horrific crimes and different things that were committed there and walk back from that, and really paint out the reality that some terrible murders have happened there.
Murder is a true crime and a sad reality that does occur, especially with how it's handled around there. Hummel Park isn't just a place to hike. It has some reality to it.
crimes that happened at Lake Standing Bear, that happened downtown at the mall at the Heartland of America Park. So these, and they happen in South Omaha, and they happen all over Middle Omaha, and they happen in West Omaha. I think that this whole mission of making Hummel Park look like it's some kind of scary torture land for crimes against African Americans, honestly, is about demonizing North Omaha and making people from the city afraid of the woods.
The perspective of the city demonizing the forest due to the background is terrifying, especially in a nice area like Hummel Park and how maintained it would be.
There's a lot of rumors and conjectures about the park, though, and one of the big things that I've really been into for a very long time is trying to break down the rumors from the reality. And so in my article, I laid out what's blatantly fake, what's blatantly true, and then what's actually questionable.
On the contrary, from the deep history behind this park, Brian Hobelman gives us insight about the park and what he's seen from it.
I personally haven't seen any creatures there, but I have seen satanic symbols on the ground, like the upside down star. I think it's called a pentagram, a bunch of those in the concrete.
Hummel Park is definitely known for its satanic symbols on the ground, and rumors of the park being haunted further fuels that thought process. These symbols that Brian saw are one of the variables that showcases how the park is demonized today.
On research that I've heard about it, I think there was like a house for like albino people or something, and I guess people didn't like them, and so they just made up a bunch of rumors about them, and that's where the cannibal stories come from.
A common link that can be matched to these is the idea that the spread of rumors and ideally misinformation can showcase the idea of fear in the mix. While we do like horror stories, it can come at a cost.
Yeah, so if you look at the land values in the Ponca Hills, that's where it sits, is in the Ponca Hills, right? And if you look at the land values back there, them people, they are not poor people. That is not like everybody, let's go frolic and play and have fun like it's East Omaha, like it's Carter Lake. Instead, those are expensive houses, and guarantee you there's no crime happening in the middle of expensive houses. Omaha is very particular about who it lets into that expensive house area. Hummel Park should be popular, you're right by saying that. But the fact of the matter is, it's still remote. It's still out there. You know, you got to go all the way up Pershing to get to it. And how many people are ever actually going to do that? So I think the state that it's in right now, in terms of it's in fairly good condition. The city does its job in maintaining it, and there are people who use it and actually appreciate it.
Knowing history while simultaneously getting an idea of what you like is a great way to build a foundation for an area, and it showcases enjoyment. With that thought, I asked Brian if he believes there's ghosts at Hummel Park.
I personally haven't seen any ghosts there, but I do believe there are ghosts, paranormal stuff going on regarding that. So I would say, yeah, there is that there.
With all that being said, from the terror to the reality, Hummel Park is a trademark of an area. This is Zaire Beller at mavradio.fm.
With so many stories surrounding Hummel Park, Zaire helped bring some of those mysteries out into the open. And joining us now is Zaire. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
We're doing great. How did you first connect with Adam Fletcher for your story?
So I was trying to do a lot of research, trying to find people the expert trying to connect with. And then I went on, I believe, his journal or his website, and I scrolled through Adam Fletcher's website, and I was thinking, hey, let me connect with him. And he responded immediately, told me a good time, a good place, and that's how I connected with him.
What made you choose Hummel Park as your Haunted Heartland feature?
Well, for that, I'd say that it's a more secluded area, and I decided that there's stories that it's haunted, so I thought maybe it's a good idea that I should try it, just to see bases of how people experiences with Hummel Park and their journey through it.
Had you ever been to the park before deciding to cover it?
Yes, it was actually, it was like 5-6 months ago. I thought, me and my friend Brian, who I interviewed as a layperson, we explored the park a bit, and place I should try again and go deeper into it.
What led you to focus on the park's history instead of just the horror legends?
I think history is a good thing for everyone regarding the park, and know more about what happened or what occurred there. I wanted to explore more about the insides of Hummel Park with it. That's what made me want to go deeper into Hummel Park.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Halloween isn't just about ghosts and goblins. For some, it's a season that blurs the line between the sacred and the supernatural. Reporter Dayanara Marroquin explores how faith and fear intertwine.
It's hard to think of fear and faith sharing the same pew, yet the supernatural often come wrapped in scripture. The cross and the crucifix, symbols of salvation, double as weapons against the darkness. At the University of Nebraska, Omaha, Dr. Brady DeSanti teaches Holy Terror, Religion and Horror, a class that dives straight into that eerie intersection.
I've always liked the horror genre, movies, books, and so forth. And I think the intersection for me, there was a movie that I was in like 5th grade when it came out in 1990. It was called Jacob's Ladder. And seeing the previews on TV, it made it look like a really bizarre horror movie. And when I finally saw it, I think I was in junior high school. And it clicked with me that it looked like it had a Buddhist connection.
For DeSanti, horror isn't just about cheap thrills. It's a lens into what society hides. Through his research, he's found that horror often forces us to confront what religion keeps sacred or silent.
I found that you can actually start to learn something about religion and how religion functions in a society and what people are afraid of and their anxieties and so forth that they don't always speak about the place of religion in their communities through horror. Horror as a genre, you could say, is a genre of confrontation. Things that you don't acknowledge that are real in your society because they're taboo or they make you feel uncomfortable. Horror is like, no, you're going to pay attention to this. And it oftentimes does sort of confront you with those, insecurities that you may have about things in life and the role that death plays and so forth.
That connection between faith and fear resonates strongly with lifelong horror fan Michelle Robles.
When it comes to intersecting the two, the feelings that come with religion and horror, I think that they can be applied with negative experiences that come with religion, whether that be again, like the very first surface level stuff, like the very scary supernatural things, and then also how people feel about it.
Robles says she first noticed the link between horror and faith in one of the genre's biggest hits.
The one that I happened to watch when I was a kid, and that I think that was the very first time that I've ever really thought about religion in a horror context, was Paranormal Activity. It's it's not the most convoluted movie, I would say, but it definitely makes you think about the horror aspect again of religion and how scary situations like that could be.
For Robles, horror and religion share the same emotional space. Fear, guilt, and awe, all tangled together in the dark.
I came to really realize that religion and horror are very intersected.
Whether it's scripture or cinema, religion and horror share the same heartbeat, both asking what waits for us in the dark. For mavradio.fm, I'm Dayanara Marroquin.
Faith, fear, and the supernatural. Sometimes they meet closer to home than we think. Dayanara joins us now. Dayanara, where are you tonight?
I'm outside St. Margaret Mary's Catholic Church.
Dayanara, do you believe in ghosts or the supernatural?
Yeah, I think there are things out there that we can't really explain, whether it's spirits or something else. I definitely believe there's more to the world that we can't see.
And what is your favorite religious horror movie?
For me, it's definitely The Witch. I feel like it's so real and grounding in its setting, but it's also very religious and how fear and isolation can make things more terrifying.
If you could interview any horror director about religion, who would it be?
Definitely Guillermo del Toro. I think he understands how religion and monsters overlap, and he really portrays how belief and redemption and darkness inside of people is important.
Do you think movies about possession or demons are scarier than other types of horror?
Yeah, because I feel like it's something that you can't control. When someone's possessed, it's not just physical, it's spiritual, mental, and everything. The idea that you could lose control of yourself, I feel like that's scarier than a killer or a ghost.
What do you think draws people to the intersection of religion and fear?
I think because it's something really personal. Religion deals with a lot of what we believe in, and it's what we fear the most. For some people fear the most, or what happens after we die. I think that horror just takes it to another limit and pushes those extremes.
All right, thank you so much, Dayanara.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll talk about a Omaha classic that has a scary history. As Halloween creeps closer, Omaha's most mysterious mansion is stirring with stories from the past. Mav Radio's Keith Varos takes us inside Jocelyn Castle, where history, and maybe something else, still walks the halls.
Just off 39th and Davenport sits a stone mansion towering above the trees, the Jocelyn Castle. On a gray October morning, it looks like a picture straight out of a Gothic novel. The halls are quiet, some say too quiet, until they're not. Built in 1903 by George and Sarah Jocelyn, one of Omaha's wealthiest couples, the castle was designed to be a symbol of generosity and grandeur. But over time, some say the walls began to talk back.
It's more for like when you're like alone that you'll kind of like hear those things, but like, you know, guests, volunteers, and even staff have like, you know, said some things that have, you know, happened with them.
That's Crystal, one of around 50 staff who work at the Jocelyn Castle today. She leads tours, both public and private, and hears more than her share of ghost stories. Let's listen.
There was like footsteps that I heard, and no one else was around. So like that was like
that's kind of creepy.
Yeah. There was also this time that I know I closed the door, and then I turned around. I'm walking away from the door, and it slowly starts to creep open. Yeah, that one gave me the chills for sure.
However, Crystal isn't alone. Staff and visitors alike have reported strange experiences in the castle. One story in particular stands out. Let's listen.
One night, like after a private event that was happening, they were locking up, and they ended up hearing what sounded like a child giggling, and it was from upstairs. So then they went to go check to see if the child if a child was upstairs. Didn't see nothing. That was like, I was like, what?
After hearing weird noises, they checked the entire second floor. Nothing, just empty rooms and silent, but not the kind that put you at ease. Let's hear from another visitor who felt the Jocelyn Castle's eerie energy firsthand. Omaha's base photographer and UNO student, Eileen Adana.
So I've gone 2 times. My first time was with a couple. Jocelyn Castle is pretty known to take like pictures on the outside. I'd never seen the inside, and I had a couple that wanted pictures in front of it, so we went there, and we noticed that there was this one curtain that kept glowing. Like, we looked at all the other windows and none of them were glowing, but that was the only one that was like, it was going, yeah, it was moving pretty crazy, so we were kind of like creeped out.
Her second visit took her inside, and that's when the mood shifted.
Yeah, we just kind of felt like it was just weird vibes. Like, I would say I'm a very like vibe person.
You read the vibes.
I can read the vibes, yeah. Either like a person or like a place. So I just kind of felt really weird. And then there was this one room. You like walk straight, and then on the left, it's that big throne. And that was the creepiest for me.
Despite no deaths being officially recorded at the castle, some believe spirits still linger. One in particular, the woman who once called this mansion home, Sarah Jocelyn.
People feel more presence like in the library or like at the like grand staircase, because that was like one of Sarah Jocelyn's like favorite areas, they say. So some people, you know, still believe that she's still there.
The idea of a watchful presence may sound frightening, but for Crystal and others, it's a sign of something deeper. like respect?
Me personally, I respect them. You know, like when I walk in, I like say good morning, and then, you know, when I'm leaving, I do say like, you know, good night, just to be respectful to them.
Places like the Joslin Castle are more than tourist stops. They're living history. Echo chambers of the lives, joys, and yes, fears of those who came before us. Haunted or not, they remind us of the time that never really stands still. And if you don't happen to hear a whisper, a laugh, or a creak, or an unseen step, maybe it's just Sarah, making sure her home is still in good hands. For Mav Radio, I'm Keith Rose.
Whether haunted or simply historic, Joslin Castle continues to draw those looking for a good story or a good scare. All right, we're here with Keith. How you doing?
I'm good. How's it going on?
It's pretty good, man. So you've spent some time inside Joslin Castle. What was the atmosphere like when you were recording there, and did it actually feel haunted?
It did. Like I said in the package, it felt like something straight out of a Gothic novel. Very dark, gloomy, very cold on the inside, but pretty cool architecture.
You mentioned staff members hearing footsteps and even laughter. Do you personally witness or hear anything strange while you were there?
Anything creepy that I remember that there was a curtain blowing and a big throne that was very sketchy. So I was like, yeah, this is some out of paranormal activity.
The castle clearly has a deep history. Why do you think stories like these continue to draw people year after year?
Close by home. I mentioned in the story that it has one of, if not one of the richest people in Omaha, Nebraska. So I just thought it was a cool story to tell.
For those feeling brave this Halloween season, how can listeners visit or experience Joslin Castle for themselves?
Yeah, they do private or public tours. They're kind of expensive, so if you got a little money, you want to do something with the family or something, definitely go to their website, have fun. They'll show you the upstairs, downstairs, where they kind of hung out at, vaults that they contain money in, and a whole bunch of cool artifacts about the city and stuff. So underground tunnels and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It's weird and scary.
All right, thank you so much, Keith.
Now, Juliet, do you want to tell our listeners what costume we got going on right now?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of just pulled this out from my closet. It's some old costume. It looks like a suit, like maybe something like Jack Sparrow, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's giving like Jack Skellington vibes.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
I am the Queen of Hearts, for anyone wondering, and we got Denise and Bailey back here who are dressed as cats. You know, classic.
Dripped out, man.
But while we're on the topic of costumes, with spooky season upon us, many people are planning what they'll wear for the night. But not everyone considers sustainability when choosing a costume that's not too niche and not too common. Textile pollution and fast fashion harm the environment more than most realize. Reporter Bella McAtee has the story.
92 million tons of textile waste is produced every year, according to Earth.org. Imagine a trash truck full of clothes being dumped at a landfill every second of a year. The UN Environment Program found that the average number of times individuals wear clothing pieces has declined by 36% within the last 15 years. Many buy pieces to be worn one time for a special occasion, with holidays such as Halloween majorly affecting these choices. Halloween costumes themselves are mass-produced with lots of chemicals and microplastics to be worn once, then tossed. Think of those trendy costumes that are only in for that year. Where do they end up the following year? Landfills and in our fresh water. Omaha native and sustainable fashion trailblazer Lauren Bates has been in the fashion scene for decades. She's been in many facets of fashion and explored different positions until journalism work shifted her lens onto the sustainable fashion movement. Bates reflected over the last time she had bought a fast fashion Halloween costume from a holiday retailer over 2 decades ago.
They were expensive then. They're $60. They're wrapped in plastic. They are made mostly from plastic.
That plastic wrapping and plastic feel doesn't just make for an uncomfortable evening for you, it also damages our ecosystem after you depart from the look. According to Just One Ocean, fashion has shown to account for 20 to 30% of microplastics found in the ocean. While we can't halt the production of fast fashion costumes ourselves, we can do our part to consider the planet when we shop for clothes and costume pieces.
When it comes to Halloween, think think like globally, but act locally. Like you don't have to give away any part of your costume or your idea to make it look good.
This can be done by thrifting, upcycling, or vintage shopping for Halloween costumes.
There's so much out there that will help you embrace that unique outfit, that unique look, that unique design without having to, run to, a Spirit Halloween to grab something in a plastic bag that likely won't fit you.
Caitlin Kelly, president of Sustain UNO, an action-oriented club on campus that is driven by sustainability, has never purchased a fast fashion costume before.
I've always gone to Goodwill because, they have that whole aisle of just Halloween costumes, or I make it with my mother or something.
She finds Halloween costumes to be a chance to get crafty and express herself.
2 years ago, I was Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, so I made my dress and my friend was the bus, so we had fun making it.
To her, hand-making a costume is special.
It's a whole experience within itself.
Swap Omaha, founded by Leah Bates, is a way that you can directly help with clothing recirculation in a local way.
It's a little bit of an honor system in a way for our community-wide ones. If you bring 20 plus things, you can essentially take whatever you want because that also gets those donations off of our hands.
Sometimes swappers will donate more than they choose to go home with, and Swap Omaha must decide what to do with the excess clothes.
Based on kind of need and seasonality, we donate to local nonprofits. We never donate to big box thrift shops like Goodwill or Thrift World. We never donate to those places. Now, I'm not saying don't shop there, but there's a better way to donate because a lot of the stuff, most of the textiles that are donated to big box thrift stores, about 80% of them don't ever find a new home, and we ship them overseas, to Kanemanto in Ghana. Sometimes they end up in landfill, they'll end up in the Chilean desert. So we want to give the clothing to people that either love it or that are in need.
Bates emphasizes that by thrifting locally or swapping for your Halloween costumes,
you're keeping that in the community, you're embracing sustainability, and you're really making those connections to the community that help make you feel like you're a part of it.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Bella McAtee.
Now Bella will join us here. Bella, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Now, why do you think college students care about sustainable fashion?
I think that college students care and should care about sustainable fashion because, we're the next generation. We're the learners right now in the world, and I think that we should lead by example and be conscious of our planet. And also, we're all being cost conscious. I know I don't have that much money right now as a college student, so if you only have a certain amount of money, don't spend it on a cheap costume that won't fit you or be poor quality. Spend it on something where you can shop local and thrift and then probably wear the piece again.
How do you personally stay sustainable in your clothing choices?
Yeah, I try and thrift everything I can or borrow something from a friend if I'm only needing a dress for one night. And also, when it comes to Halloween, my family has a costume closet. We've kept every costume we've ever had. So you can also stay sustainable by reusing costumes. And I also recently this year thrifted my own costume.
How can sustainable fashion connect people?
I think it's very easy to connect with people on this. You could be like, hey, I'm going to thrift my Halloween costume. Do you want to come with me? Or you can also, be like, do you have any ideas about upcycling or any ways that you could, incorporate sustainable fashion into my costume and then get people talking about it?
And where can our listeners learn more about Swap Omaha Swap Meets?
Yeah, Swap Omaha Swap Meets are great. I actually got a dress for my costume this year where I'm going to be Miss Piggy at a Swap Omaha meet for free, and also got to donate through it. And you can learn a lot about it on their social media if you just look up Swap Omaha.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bella.
Of course, thank you.
A big part here in the Omaha Heartland is experiencing the change of seasons. Every Midwest resident knows the feeling of crisp fall air arriving as summer fades into autumn. But those environmental changes can also bring on seasonal affective disorders and depression. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, about 5% of American adults experience seasonal affective disorder beginning as early as the fall months. Reporter Rhett Yeoman explores the science behind what causes it and how we can become more aware of its impacts on ourselves and our communities.
In the summer, the days are long. In the spring, the flowers bloom. In the winter, the snow settles. And in the fall, The leaves turn colorful and crunchy, and then they, fall. As these ever-present seasonal processes repeat themselves year after year, they can wash over us and become an afterthought. With all the hustle and bustle, the busyness of our day-to-day lives, we rarely stop to think, what is the science behind the fall season's unique character? And how do these things contribute to our state of mind during the duration of the season?
So basically, the plants are responding to the fact that there is less sunlight, it's cooling off, they might have like an early freeze, and then that is in turn what cues them to reduce their production of chlorophyll, which is what causes the change from green to red and orange, and then eventually it will cause the leaves to drop as plants are conserving energy in the winter season.
Dr. Roland Schaefer is an assistant professor of biology at UNO. Along with the leaves switching colors, she also highlighted the migration of birds, increased squirrel activity, and an increase in allergy symptoms for being some less well-known signs of the season.
If people think of allergies as a springtime thing, but a lot of people are actually they experience really significant allergies in the fall because there's kind of plants doing their, especially the later blooming plants kind of doing their like going out of business sale where they're just like putting all the pollen that they've got into the environment in like one desperate chance to reproduce before they're done for the season.
These functions of nature brought about by the fall season can seem like they take place far off in the background of our busy lives. However, those seasonal changes have the potential to substantially alter our state of mind, whether that be positively or negatively, consciously or subconsciously. Omaha resident Christina Nguyen is aware of how the change from summer to fall affects her state of being.
Mood is better when it gets to fall, cold weather.
Okay.
I feel more energized and not as lazy because hot is usually makes you tired, makes you don't want to do anything.
A similar sentiment was shared by Christina's aunt, Kelly.
Actually, it does affect my energy and my mood because I'm in a better mood because it's cold. I'm like, yes, let's do more things, I'm like, I'm ready to go versus the summer. I'm like, no, it's too hot.
Although Kelly and Christina expressed feeling energized during fall, it is not uncommon for others to actually have a decrease in productivity or a negative shift in mood.
The changing seasons doesn't just affect our mood in the feelings kind of ways. It changes what's going on chemically in our bodies, and that can then in turn lead to changing mood patterns.
The fall season brings with it shorter days, which means less sunlight and lower vitamin D intake for many Americans. Vitamin D deficiency has been found to be linked to depression, outlining what could be part of the reason why people might feel more gloomy and tired during the fall.
We struggle as a society with taking mental health seriously as a physical thing. I think we treat the body and the mind as separate things, when in reality they are the same thing, and things that are going on chemically in your body are going to affect your mood. And so things like dropping vitamin D levels, things like less physical activity, those are things that have actual physical effects on the chemicals in your brain. Yes. And that's not just you being sad, that's not just you needing to toughen up. That is a chemical change in the way that your brain is working.
Staying active, engaging in frequent social activities, and getting outside in the sunlight is shown to help alleviate these seasonal affective effects. The fall can be a beautiful but bittersweet time. For many, it can be a challenge to manage the seasonal shift. However, equipping ourselves with the information behind the fall season's unique effects and the implications on our state of mind can only help us continue to shine bright during our day-to-day.
There should be no shame or guilt in feeling the effects of seasonal depression. It's okay to reach out for help and talk to others about how you're feeling. The changes in our environment affect everyone differently, so a little understanding and compassion can go a long way for someone who might be struggling. And joining us now is Rhett. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. I'm down here at the Health and Kinesiology building in front of the Counseling and Psychological Services office, where our fellow Mavericks can go to get, lots of different mental health services. Yeah, I'm doing great.
What are your personal feelings about fall and how it affects you?
Yeah, well, it's long been something that even before I ever knew what seasonal affective disorder was or seasonal depression, I always did kind of have this weird relationship with the fall, where, the summer, you always look forward to it, and, well, I don't know if everyone does, but that's, at least in my own mind, you kind of look forward to it. It's built up to be this big moment. You know, there's songs, school's out for summer and whatnot. But when we get to the fall, I always kind of just had this kind of dark feeling when the summer would go away and winter months, starting with fall, would start up. I always had this weird relationship. And when I kind of got to learn more about seasonal affective disorder and seasonal depression, it really just, something clicked in my head and made a lot more sense. So hopefully that makes sense for describing my relationship with the fall and how I feel about it there.
Yeah, why do you think it's important to spread awareness about seasonal affective disorder?
Yeah, well, maybe I alluded to it a bit there, just because, you know, it's very real. It affects our day-to-day lives. It affects, even if, you know, you yourself may not be, it affects people around us and our loved ones, our friends and family. And, you know, I just believe that we can always benefit from being more aware of these sort of things, just to, you know, I guess, better understand what our fellow man is going through. And for, you know, I'm sure there's tons of people out there who have kind of a similar story to me, where they maybe thought something was wrong with them, or they thought that, you know, they didn't know why they always have this kind of depressive mood that seems to set in at the same time every year. Maybe I should have put it together earlier, but it just really, I guess, what's the word? Just reassured me that there wasn't anything wrong with me, you know. And I don't think anybody should feel like there's anything wrong with them if they feel the same way as I do, you know.
Yeah, what's your favorite and least favorite thing about the fall season?
Yeah, well, my least favorite, on top of the seasonal depression and whatnot that people can experience, I think my expert kind of touched upon it there, is the allergies. I get bad allergies during the fall. You know, a lot of people associate that with the spring, but my nose is running. It seems my sleep gets worse. You know, I can't breathe. You know, my nasal, whatever that's called, up in my nose and my mouth, you just can't breathe as well, and that affects you. It affects how you sound. It affects how you sleep and everything. So that might be my least favorite part. My favorite part is, you know, Thanksgiving, and because I always associate that with family, going back into town with my family and enjoying a meal, watching some football with them, and just hanging out. So that's my least favorite and my favorite part of it, I believe.
And lastly, what do you wish more people understood about SAD?
Yeah, I mean, just that it's a very real thing that should never be written off, you know. The worst thing you can do to somebody who's experiencing seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression is to write it off and tell them that, you know, that it's not legitimate, or that what they're feeling is not, you know, that there's something wrong with them. That'll just send someone on a spiral, and it's really unhealthy. So, you know, that's the whole idea with my you know, presentation here today, that, you know, we all can just be more aware of it and treat people in our lives with respect and awareness for this sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rhett.
Thank you, guys.
And when we go on break, we'll bring you some UNO fall-themed activities. Stay with us.
UNO joined the university system in 1968. With less than 60 years of a formal university, the legendary tales that pass down amongst a generation of students lacks. Or does it? More on the story is Olivia MacArthur.
You are a maverick. The University of Nebraska Omaha's campus has a history of spooky legends. Or does it? UNO professor and folklore enthusiast Todd Richardson received his PhD from the University of Minnesota, a storied institution that built up legends over the generations, unlike UNO, which doesn't draw from the same level of legendary tales.
It's kind of a university for oddballs and misfits. And that historically what that meant was like commuter students, non-traditional students, people coming back for night school, things like that. Mm-hmm. And those folks don't like sit around like swapping ghost stories.
Around the turn of the millennium, UNO became part of the University of Nebraska system and created student housing, which drew more traditional students to spread legends. Resident assistant Samira Zarazua is cautious about the Top Hat Man, a ghost that roams near the Dodge campus dorm.
Apparently there's just like this guy who, like this shadowy figure that looks like he's wearing like a top hat, and he just kind of roams around Maverick Village. I get terrified of doing rounds in Maverick Village when I like think about this guy.
Zarazua tries to stay close with the other RAs when doing rounds, yet that's not always possible, and legends like this one do more than just give a story to tell, they create them.
I like walk through and I get really nervous because it's like I 100% believe in ghosts, just because of like my family and just like cultural things. It's not like the most like, there's some places in Maverick Village where it's like not very well lit, even though there's like a street lamp like right there. Like it's just really like shadowy. It just feels kind of weird.
Another legend of a mysterious monkey lab draws attention. Legend says that Professor Jeff French tested on dangerous, radioactive monkeys, yet the lab can never be found, perhaps to keep us safe.
Everybody likes monkeys, right? And I would love to see them, but they're keeping these monkeys from us, I think, because they are specifically dangerous, perhaps radioactive.
It's a legend that Richardson says he promotes himself.
And I started spreading that rumor, or trying to spread it, legend, because there's a need, right? Like it's good for spirit, it's good for community. It brings people together.
So, whether you believe in top hat ghosts or killer monkeys, spreading legendary stories creates community amongst individuals. With a newer traditional style campus, we have the opportunity to create legends for the next generations.
It's really cool because it does unite students. It gives them something to share, and it gives them something to pass on. It gives older students something a reason to connect with, and kind of introduce and initiate younger students into UNO culture.
I'm Olivia MacArthur, and you're listening to mavradio.fm.
UNO! UNO! UNO!
Olivia is here, joining us from Dodge campus in search of the mysterious monkey lab.
Hey guys, I'm out here at the bell tower. We've been walking around looking for anything spooky going on, catching the vibe.
Have you witnessed any spooky encounters on campus?
Tonight has been pretty low, not very much going on. In my experience, I've had my fair share of nighttime wanders and turnarounds in buildings, but I have never experienced something particularly super eerie myself.
Is there evidence of this monkey lab?
Yes, I believe there is a real monkey lab in Allwine. There's live animal signs down there and everything. I believe they do real experiments, but myself, I've never gotten in a place where I can get in there and learn more about that.
And as a third-year UNO student, what is your experience with hearing stories about legends on campus?
I'd say the most legends that I've heard, or like most stories that I know, come from like the campus tours. I think that's, I'm not sure if that clip got in with Dr. Richardson was kind of talking about that, but tour guides know how to spread legends and get people to talk about it. So I think that's where most of the stories I know that come from. But I feel like the more time that I have spent on campus, talking to people, connecting with people, I've definitely heard more stories than I would have thought.
Do you foresee improvements in the spread of legendary tales based on your time as a student?
I would say so. I think the more that people connect with each other, and the more that, now that we're more of a traditional university with traditional students, people have more opportunities to know one another. And just once you know people, you start talking to people, that's how stories spread. So,
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Olivia.
One of the most classic ways to celebrate the Halloween season is by settling in for a good scare. Whether it's at a theater or under the covers at home, horror movies have become a time-honored tradition. Reporter Shane Schumacher explores why audiences can't get enough of the chills and thrills of horror films.
The making and watching of horror films around Halloween has become a pastime that grows every year. According to the National Retail Federation, Halloween spending is expected to hit a record $13.1 billion this year. People want to be spooked. So I asked director, editor, and producer Tom Elkins why the genre feels so essential to the season.
Halloween has become much bigger in pop culture than it ever has been. And I don't know, I think people just really, they like to feel scared without being in danger.
That feeling of safe fear is exactly what keeps audiences coming back. And for him, Halloween is a reminder of his own films he has done.
So Chucky and Annabelle, this is the time of year for them. And so I'm reminded constantly, pretty much all the time, this time of year about some of the scary movies I've worked on and their presence in pop culture, which is always kind of cool.
But what do the movies bring to Halloween that is so important to the season? I asked current UNO student and horror film fan Cole Mack.
I mean, it definitely inspires a lot of the culture around Halloween. You have a lot of costumes that end up being based around Halloween movies or horror movies in general.
And what is it that makes horror movies feel so essential to the season?
You get a lot of enjoyment, I think, out of having those experiences again, and having movies that you go back to, and then being able to see the sequels to those movies. And
from movie sets to couches, horror connects us and builds the culture of the spooky season. For mavradio.fm, I'm Shane Schumacher.
As Halloween approaches and we prepare our popcorn, blankets, and candy, one thing's for sure. We all have a few favorite films on our list to get those scares in. And joining us now is Shane. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. So first, what is it like interviewing someone with Hollywood experience?
To me, it was really just unique in the fact that, as someone into the media industry and sort of looking into the research on, horror movies in general, what he had to say about, the way that editing sort of affects, the whole overall feel and fear that people get. And also just, some of the inner things about how he creates a horror movie was very interesting to listen to.
Is there anything you wish you could have included in your interviews?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a really long interview with him, and it was mostly just because it ended up being such a good conversation. He was a great talker. And I think I really just wish I could have, included a lot more about, like, his experience in Hollywood, which, wasn't as much related to Halloween or the sort of horror aspect of it, but he sort of related that super well into the way that films affect people. And I think that really has something to do with the core of horror and, fear in Halloween.
Do you have a favorite horror movie of your own?
I would say The Evil Dead is probably a favorite of mine. It's very old, and it uses a bunch of very unique visual trickery because there wasn't as much, or if any, sort of computerized ways of visual effects. So I would definitely recommend that one.
All right. Thank you so much, Shane.
Now, while we're on the topic of scary stuff, like I said before, I'm a complete baby when it comes to scary stuff, but we have a treat for you. Our very own Bailey Cook is going to join us and tell us about, you said, a scary story?
A scary experience that I've had. Hi, friends. I hope that you're enjoying the broadcast this year. I know listening, it's been a lot of fun to sit and listen to all of the nice packages that the students created. So my scary experience that I've had, growing up, I was never really into the whole spooky stuff, but we had a family friend who we went over to his house, and he's an older man, like my dad's age, and he had a cat, and this cat liked to watch around the house. And one night after we had left, he was looking at his cat, and his cat was looking all around, and his eyes kept tracking something. And the owner of the house was spooked, and so he left. He came back a little bit later and looked at his house camera that he had, and on this house camera you can see the cat's eyes as it was following something, and the camera, there was an orb that it was following, so there was a ghost. And then came to find out it was his mom's ghost. He had somebody come into the house and do a whole spiritual reading. It was a whole thing. So that was very scary. I refused to go stay at that house, but
yeah, I don't blame you.
I'm not big into ghosts. I believe in if you feed into it, then the more that they're going to be active around
Yeah.
you. So I try to just ignore it and not feed into.
That's
if ghosts are
terrifying.
real.
Yeah.
Maya, do you believe ghosts are real?
I like to think that they aren't, but there's always a part of me, when I see like random objects move across my room, like what other explanation is it? I'm so jumpy in the middle of the night, like my door randomly opens.
I have those
or-
random thoughts that pop into my head as I'm peeing. I'm like, what if somebody's in my shower?
Yeah.
Like that midnight pee that you go on. What if somebody's in my shower? I'm really scared.
Okay, well, thank you so much for telling us about that.
Of course.
We are going to go to break, and we will have more for you when we come back. Now we take you back to Hummel Park. Hummel Park is one of Omaha's most talked about landmarks. Located on the city's north side, the park is known for its trails, campsites, and scenic views. But beneath its peaceful surface lies something more mysterious. Stories of strange happenings have lingered for decades, from tales of monsters in the woods to a haunted staircase that seems to change its number of steps. Reporter Jacob Leslie searched for the truth behind the myths, exploring what's facts, what's folklore, and what makes Hummel Park one of Omaha's most legendary spots.
Growing up in Carter Lake, Iowa, I spent a lot of time in the Omaha area as a child. I can drive 5 minutes on Abbott Drive and be right in the heart of downtown Omaha, right next to Charles Schwab Field and CHI Health Center. With that being said, I had never heard of Hummel Park until my first semester of college in fall of 2023. I took a course titled Science and Critical Thinking, where I was introduced to everything Hummel Park had to offer by my professor, Dr. James Wilson.
But I don't know where I heard about some of these things with Hummel Park. I think I just heard people talking about the stairs and the albinos and stuff like that, and the albino thing is what caught my attention the most.
Dr. Wilson, a biology professor at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, introduced our lecture class to Hummel Park, specifically the haunted staircase. The story goes that if you count the number of stairs walking up and down the staircase, the number will be different. Our class arrived on the park grounds to test the theory. Something eerie was felt in the air on a crisp autumn morning. However, the theory proved false. We counted the stairs, and the number did not change. The case of the haunted stairs was officially closed, but in hindsight, we were just scratching the surface of what Hummel Park had to offer.
And it was a yearbook entry for a guy named Donald Gibson. And the picture of him, you can clearly see that he's an albino. His eyes are kind of that, not the pink color, but the kind of light coloration. And his hair is very white. Even though it's a black and white photo, you can tell it's pretty white.
It was the year 1955. Donald Gibson, an 18-year-old Omaha resident suffering from albinism, was riding his motorcycle through Hummel Park. He crashed into a tree and died, subsequently starting the rumors of albinos on the outskirts of the park's grounds. The story gained traction because of the park's secluded location and eerie lighting on the park grounds after dark. The albinos aren't the only urban legend associated with the trees at Hummel Park. According to Dr. Wilson, there have been past rumors of lynchings occurring at Hummel Park. The trees near the entrance of the park are permanently bent as a result.
The lynching and the trees that bend inward toward the street because supposedly the weight of the bodies hanging from the trees, not to say that doesn't happen, but I don't know that happened in Hummel Park. I don't think it did.
There has been no evidence backing the claim that lynchings cause the trees to bend inwards. Instead, there is a science behind the abnormal behavior.
There's a biological reason for the trees that grow inward, and that is that when you have a street, there's a lot of open light, and the trees want to grow towards the light, and so they just naturally grow inward toward the street, and then they look like they're leaning, but it's really just the way that they get out into the light.
Whether this inference is true, you can't disprove the fact that these rumors have been circulating around for decades. So the real question is, can we really explain the rumors surrounding Hummel Park? Is there any way to prove the conspiracies are real, or are they simply fabrications of reality? For mavradio.fm, I'm Jacob Leslie.
Many of the mysteries surrounding Hummel Park have been thoroughly investigated and largely debunked. The staircase isn't haunted, the trees aren't bent from lynching, and there's no evidence of a hidden community of albinos. Still, the park's legends continue to intrigue visitors year after year, adding to its eerie reputation and the curiosity that keeps people coming back. Jacob joins us live from Hummel Park.
What's up, guys?
Jacob, what do the bending trees actually look like in person?
All right, I forgot to mention it in the radio broadcast, but when you enter Hummel Park, the entrance is where the bending trees are located. So me and Zaire are here at Hummel Park right now. We drove in. There's a bunch of trees that are bent towards the street. Not sure if it's haunted or not, but it seems like it is.
Have you spotted anything unusual during your time at the park?
Me and Zaire are actually at the haunted staircase right now. Before I got on live with you guys, we went down the staircase and counted the steps. Then we came back up the staircase. And the findings we got were a little bit eerie. The number of stairs was different.
You just counted the stairs for yourself, so what's your verdict? Haunted or not?
I think it might be haunted. We were at the top of the stairs, and down, there's a red pickup truck sitting down there, waiting to pick us up. So we had to hurry back up.
Okay.
And the amount of stairs was different.
Any spooky feelings or strange moments while you were there tonight?
Yeah, we're still here. We got here when it was light out, but the light has faded. It's pitch black here right now. We got our flashlights on our phones. We can't really see anything, to be honest.
All right,
so,
well,
pray for us, guys.
Stay safe out there. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you, guys.
I don't know. Those stories about Hummel Park make me think that I really just don't want to go visit there. I mean, what a kind of creepy place. Maybe in the morning, though. I don't know. But here I am with Denise Valdez Alvarez, my wonderful friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? Loving the show,
good.
by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, you have some fall activities you'd like to talk about. So what's some kind of your favorites?
One of my favorites fall activities is baking cinnamon rolls. I cheat and I buy the prepackaged or like the pre-made ones. And I just put them in the oven.
They're good. That's not cheating, in my opinion.
But I also like to make arroz con leche. Perfect for the fall weather. Arroz con leche is basically rice pudding. It has rice and then condensed milk and evaporated milk and then a cinnamon stick in there. Love it.
Ooh.
Basically, I love baking.
Don't make me hungry on the broadcast, man. Don't make me hungry. Well, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Halloween has taken over the Henry Dorley Zoo, and is not just for the animals. What was once known as Ghosts and Ghouls has transformed into Zootacular, a reimagined celebration filled with lights, frights, and plenty of fun for the whole family. The event runs every Thursday through Sunday, with the final night being October 30th. Reporters Katie Clemenson and Eileen Adamame bring us more from this year's Spooky Spectacular.
The spooky season brings in events all over Omaha to get people excited about Halloween. The Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo is a frequent location for these seasonal festivities, especially Halloween. This year, they will be hosting an event called Zootacular, formerly known as Ghouls and Glow, for a few select weeks in October. Zoo employee Alessandra Chavez tells us a little bit about what attendees can expect.
We are going to have quite a few food places open. You can buy food there. Also trick-or-treat stations, live entertainment.
Of course, there will obviously be opportunities to see some cool animals.
They have some animal encounters, like with the alligators. I feel like that's pretty fun.
Past attendee Edgar Diego had a lot to say about the animal exhibits in the previous years.
We went to the aquarium and we saw the jellyfish, we saw the stingrays, the sharks, we saw the turtles.
Along with the animals, there are also going to be some community partners present to put on a show for those attending the event.
I'm probably excited to see the Omaha Circus coming. That would be pretty fun. Also, the Omaha Street Percussion.
There's also going to be a returning performance from a pretty cool guest.
We saw a bunch of people give a performance towards the end where they were throwing around sticks that had fires on them, and I thought that was pretty cool.
While there are multiple events happening around town this season, Zootacular helps positively contribute to the zoo's main mission.
It just helps support conservation efforts, and I feel like that's the zoo's biggest thing, conservation.
There are also pretty cool things setting it apart from other spooky events.
This event is more animal-based, and it's really great for kids.
It also gives the public a chance to experience the zoo in a different atmosphere than normal.
Having an event and having people show up helps them get noticed more, helps share that the zoo isn't just during the day.
Edgar strongly agreed with this statement.
I think the fact that they had it during the night, I think that's what really stood out, because then, you know, you can really see all the blow-up dolls and all the decorations that they put so much effort into.
Of course, with it being Halloween, there has to be trick-or-treating available for everyone to enjoy.
You can bring your kids to trick or treat, and it's kind of a safer environment as well. People passing out candy.
Taffy or chocolate?
Are like workers or volunteers, so the zoo knows.
Almost every single kid that we saw was dressed up, and you know, they even had a little dance station where they had hired a DJ and all the kids were dancing together there.
Looking for something a little more mature?
For the grown-ups, I know there's like a lot of things for like 21 plus, so that's great for them too.
What she's referring to is the Halloween Hideaway Speakeasy, available to those of age.
If you find yourself bored or curious, the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo has always got a little something for everyone.
If I would have to describe this event with one word, it would have to be exciting.
For MavRadio.fm, I'm Katie Clemenson.
And I'm Eileen Adame.
Sounds like a spooktacular time at the zoo. For trick-or-treating to live entertainment and animal encounters, Zootacular lights up Halloween in a family-friendly way. So grab your costume and maybe your courage before this event disappears on October 30th. And joining us now is Katie and Eileen. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we are good.
Katie, how's the zoo looking tonight? All decked out for the Halloween?
The zoo is looking great. We've got kids in their costumes. There are parents with them. There's music playing. Everyone seems to be having a great time.
What are some of the can't-miss attractions this year?
So you definitely have to go to the Wild Kingdom Pavilion. They have complimentary face painting, which is so cool. And then they also have a magic show. And then you can't miss the Omaha Circus Fire Show. It's just so crazy how they throw the fire sticks up in the air, and it's so close to their face. And then if you didn't bring a basket, they give you a custom Zootacular bag, which is so cool. Very cool. And then they have like trick-or-treating pop-up shops.
Have you spotted any standout costumes amongst visitors?
Yeah, we're seeing lots of Disney princesses, and the staff even dressed up, which is so nice. And then there's Winnie the Pooh.
I saw a little girl dressed up as a pumpkin. It was very cute.
There's superheroes. Yeah, it's so great.
What's the energy from the crowd like?
People are having so much fun. You can tell that the kids were super excited for this. Even the parents, like, you would think that, you know, they wouldn't be super excited to be with their kids at this, but everyone seems to be having a really good time.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scary movies are a Halloween tradition. Between the blood-curdling screams, the tense atmosphere, and the moments that make you jump out of your seat, what's not to love? But while we're watching from behind a blanket or a bowl of popcorn, few of us stop to think about what goes on behind the scenes. Reporter Ryan Kinnard takes us inside the world of filmmaking to find out how fear is crafted by frame.
Tom Elkins is a movie director and editor that has worked on multiple horror movies such as Annabelle 2015 and Child's Play 2019. His presence in the horror genre has not gone unnoticed, and he continues to make his presence felt to this day. Elkins' approach when editing a movie is no small task. With so much film to deal with, Elkins likes to take a simple yet effective route.
You cut with your gut. So I would say my approach is go with my instincts.
Knowing what and where to cut is another aspect of Elkins' job, as you must rely on those instincts to create the desired outcome for the movie.
It's sort of like logic meets creativity because, yeah, you have to cut with your gut, but you also have to cut fast. You have to be efficient.
This creativity is one of the most important aspects of Tom's job. It's especially crucial when it comes to jump scares. An intended scare could be easily brushed off, but Tom gives a unique look into how he views the task.
Jump scares in general it's kind of like comedy. In horror movies, you're managing the time as an editor through pacing between jump scares, or in a comedy, laughs.
Jump scares are an integral part to any horror movie. It's what gets the blood rushing and keeps the viewer on their toes. However, what comes before the jump scare is just as important. But how does one create a jump scare before it even happens? Tom says the answer is all in how one builds tension.
Tension happens through time and how that time is utilized between laughs and or scares. A little bit too much space, audience gets bored. Not enough, scares too much like the other one. Just add one of those, we're not scared. So it's a fun challenge.
The tension also relies on the tone of the movie. The differences in tone in films that Tom has worked on, such as Annabelle and Child's Play 2019, is how Tom chose to edit the film overall. Balancing this tone balances the rest of the movie.
They're both horror movies, but they're just a different kind of horror movie. Same thing with Annabelle and Child's Play. Both horror movies, tonally very different, and you have to be led by, in your decision making, you have to be loyal to that tone.
All these details in a movie goes to show just how taxing an editor's job can be. With so much to think about, some sequences in a movie become harder to edit. In the film Haunting Connecticut, Tom was brought on to help with editing the film. During a seance scene, however, it just wasn't scary enough. Tom reflected on what he did to the scene to really make it more powerful and memorable.
So I went in there and I said, you know what, I'm gonna make these feel more like a fever dream. And I tried this editing style where it was more like a hallucination flashback, where you only saw certain things. There was a lot of sound design. I used voices because they were trying to summon all these dead people. And suddenly the scene worked in a different way that was never expected.
Tom likes to describe this work as not only satisfying, but gratifying. He likes to have fun, playing with all the jump scares to see what fits and what doesn't.
And then it's also fun when you're doing it too, because you're having a blast with the sound. Because you know in your mind, you've got a big jump scare coming up, huge. So again, talking what we were saying earlier about managing the space between the scares, silence, 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 subtle, 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 pow.
With everything that goes into editing, Tom has had some very memorable experiences working on set. He says that working on Annabelle was a great experience, even when he initially didn't want to do it. It was a small budget film, but seeing it do so well in the box office made all that hard work pay off. However, it's not only working on the movie that is a memorable experience for Tom, but also the people he works with. He has gotten to meet his biggest inspiration, Steven Spielberg, as well as other idols of his such as Ron Howard, Tom Hanks, Michael Douglas, and Mark Hamill.
Sometimes it's the people that are the memorable experiences, as well as the moments. There's nothing like going to a premiere and you're going down the red carpet and you're like, seriously, this is happening right now?
These Cloud 9 moments for Tom are all too surreal and make the job that much more exciting. But after it's all done, Tom just loves to unwind and revel in it all.
One of my favorite things is to come home from a movie or come upstairs from a movie as it pertains to working here at home and just sit on my patio. Just sit on my patio knowing this monster of a challenge is behind me.
Tom is an extremely talented editor with over 2 decades on the job, and it was a pleasure getting to meet and talk with him pertaining his profession. Editing is not only a crucial part of the behind-the-scenes technicality of a movie, but its presence on screen is also just as important. Gia Stang, a scary movie lover, thinks of editing as helping
it seem more relatable to the audience, and I just think it adds to the suspense and detail.
On the opposite end of things, editing can also be a crutch to viewers. A poorly edited movie can affect the viewer greatly.
I feel I tend to get really bored when it's not paced right. If it's paced too slow, if nothing's keeping me hooked or in suspense, I just don't really have that much eagerness to keep watching.
When it comes to impactful jump scares, Gia says that editing does play a significant role in the timing of the scare.
Super dramatic build up to it. When it comes out of nowhere, that's when it gets me the most. There's jump scares that you would not expect to come from something or somewhere that you were not thinking it was gonna come.
Editing in horror movies plays one of the most significant roles as it manages the pacing, tone, and timing of everything that goes on in the film. When it comes to watching a scary movie, Gia Stang wants her expectations to be blown away, while a film editor working on a scary movie like Tom Elkins is constantly thinking of ways to blow those expectations away. When the audience doesn't expect what happens next, then it's safe to say that the editor has done a great job.
Many people love horror films for the thrills, but learning what happens behind the camera makes it easy to appreciate the creativity and the craft that go into every scare. So grab some popcorn, turn off the lights, cue up your favorite scary movie, and enjoy the magic of the horror genre. We are now joined by Ryan Kinnard. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Now, what inspired you to focus your story on horror filmmaking?
I think it just goes into what I was growing up with. I watched a ton of scary movies as a kid, and so it's always been a part of my life. And I met Tom Elkins through, when I was in grade school. My family was family friends with him. And so when I heard that we had this project, I thought it would be a really cool opportunity to get to interview him and kind of see what goes on in the filmmaking process.
Yeah. And what was the most interesting fact or insight you learned from your interviews?
I think when Tom was talking about the pacing and tone of the movie, I think it really put into perspective just how much he has on his shoulders. I mean, the way he was describing it, it's integral to the point of, to like the whole part of the movie, really.
And how did you approach the interviewing process for this piece?
Well, first I did my research, and then I came up with a list of questions. I wrote them all down. And then it was just really practice after that, just kind of ordering them in where I wanted the interview to go, and basically it was pretty simple in retrospect, but just mapping everything out really, really helped me.
What was your favorite part of putting together the final story?
I think it was, I would say it was editing all my clips together, finding all my sound bites, because there was just so much substance in both interviews, really, where I could just re-listen to them over and over and over again and still just be kind of blown away by what I learned.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan.
Horror films have pushed the boundary of fear, but what happens when that fear is built on violence towards women? Reporter Lavender Kling explores how misogyny in horror movies has shaped audiences' perspectives and why that violence is often fetishized for entertainment.
These movies' genre is horror, and they fetishize brutality against women. The horror genre is built off the backs of dead women and final girls. Dr. Adam Tima, an associate professor of critical media studies at UNO, says,
"We still see very male-driven, very female as victim. So going kind of like that Mulvey lens, right? That they're there to take pleasure from the viewing of kind of experience. That's probably the way I would frame it."
The Mulvey that Dr. Tima is referring to is Laura Mulvey, an acclaimed film theorist. Her most famous theory, the male gaze, is one we can easily recognize in the horror genre. The male gaze refers to a woman's to-be-looked-atness within media. The male gaze positions women as sexual objects to provide pleasure for the audience. She does not have narrative value, and if she does have narrative value, the narrative value is dependent on her sexual object status and reference to male characters. It does not matter who she is, but what she represents. If you take a moment to think of a few horror movies, then look at the female characters, it is startlingly simple to identify just how often they fall victim to the male gaze. If she doesn't fall to the male gaze, she most certainly will be attributed to the most common misogynistic horror trope, the final girl. The term final girl was first coined by Carol J. Clover in her book Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender in the Modern Horror Film. The final girl usually has 3 defining characteristics. She is sexually unavailable, or virginal, and avoids the vices of the victims like smoking, drugs, or drinking. She has a unisex name and aligns more with masculinity than the female victims, often taking the role of a tomboy. She shares a history with the killer. The final girl is a character which is created to allow men to both objectify and maintain distance from real women, instead identifying with the final girl. A women and gender studies minor, Gray Estelle Hayek, says they became interested in the final girl trope after doing their own research.
So I feel like that gender difference there, like they're committing the same crime, they're both committing sexual transgressions, but the fact that men and women are treated completely differently, I mean, not completely, they're both killed, but the fact that they're treated so differently in terms of the graphicness and the length of their death scenes feels as if it's more condemning the women for the sexual deviancy than it is the men, and it feels like that's saying a lot about the expectations of women, and like this is a much more punishable offense for women than it is for men.
Misogyny in horror is not a victimless phenomenon. Multiple studies have been conducted, studying the effects that this fictional brutality has had in reality. The University of Montreal conducted a study where they showed men and women films featuring varying degrees of violence against women. They then showed them a documented sexual assault trial, along with a questionnaire. Their findings were startling. Quoting the study, the men who watched the most violent films were more attracted to sexual aggression and more accepting of rape myths excusing sexual aggression and creating hostility towards women. Another study, conducted by the University of Cape Town, found that women who saw mediated aggression toward women had heightened feelings of disempowerment.
The unfortunate reality is that when the horror genre was created and as it is developed and perpetuated, it's typically been men behind the camera, men writing the scripts, so those storylines become normalized. And so when we see it happening in a film now, I think we are just watching the perpetuated normalcy of it throughout the genre.
And so, violence against women continues. We see this violence around us. We exaggerate that violence for entertainment. We view that entertainment for pleasure. That pleasure encourages more violence. A cycle is formed, and violence becomes normal. Is there anything more horrifying than that?
That was Lavender Kling uncovering the darker side of horror filmmaking and the culture that consumes it. You can hear more perspectives on gender and media in upcoming stories right here on mavradio.fm. And joining me in studio is Lavender. How are you doing?
Good. And you?
I'm doing pretty good. So that was a pretty dark kind of topic to talk about, but how could there be some hope in this genre?
So I think the biggest place to find hope is in our own filmmakers. So I think the best place to look is to female filmmakers, looking towards diversifying the genre, diversifying the people who are making the movies, making the genre, making the films.
And what do we as the audience do to combat this phenomenon?
So I think the biggest thing is looking at it and thinking, okay, what am I seeing? What am I interpreting? What am I digesting here? You know, why do we enjoy what we're watching? And once we start looking at it from a deeper perspective and like actually understanding what we're seeing on the screen, then we can start, you know, taking a different perspective and taking a different stance. It's important to then, you know, put your money where your ideals lie, I think is a big thing too. If you don't agree with what you're seeing, take your money where you want it to be.
Yeah, and what should creators keep in mind to ensure that they protect the creations from this phenomenon?
I think it's really important that these creators keep in mind all of these stereotypes that are in these films. I think the final girl is such a huge stereotype that isn't even known about by some people. I think that's such a strange thing to me that you might not even know it, and then you look at all these films and it's in almost every single one, and it can get boring when there's these stereotypes and they're so predictable. So I think knowing what is out there and knowing what is so commonly misogynistic, these misogynistic tropes, just educating yourself and knowing how you can change it.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
All right, well, that was a crazy evening. A lot of scary stories, a lot of really great stories that touched your heart.
Oh, yeah.
How are you feeling about it, JC?
Yes, so I'm JC. I was behind the scenes for some of this. Wyatt did his part too, but it was my first Haunted Heartland, so that was really good. 14 years. Can you believe that?
I know, it's crazy.
This thing is older than most Gen Alpha kids these days that are on their iPads.
Now that's a little wild, I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Any last words from you, Maya?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really proud of all our student reporters. I think we had a great batch of stories this year, some really interesting ones. I think I actually learned quite a bit from this Haunted Heartland, and there's a lot of things that I really found fascinating, the Hummel Park stuff and the horror films. And
all right, well, thank you guys so much for listening. This will re-air on Halloween, the 31st at 6 p.m. So go ahead and listen to that. And then after that, it'll be on our Mav Radio podcast for a long time. So thank you so much for listening with mavradio.fm. I'm Juliet Eckler.
I'm Maya French.
And I'm JC Ambrose.
We'll see you next time.
The night grows quiet now, but the echoes of stories told will linger. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you've enjoyed. This has been Haunted Heartland 2025 on mavradio.fm.